20th of October. And this isn't a vlog that I was expecting to be making today, but I've failed. And I feel like I've majorly failed. Remember Beaky, the little duckling that when it was coming out of its shell damaged its beak, or its beak was already damaged and misformed inside the egg. Well, as it was coming out, it got very stuck, and I gave it a little bit of a hand, which you're not supposed to do. I know that, and but I did. And anyway, she survived, and she kept her brother very good company for quite a long time. But her brother was her brother, and we don't want more than one drake in the flock, so he was dispatched in due course, and Beaky stayed on in the flock, and we've all said, oh, isn't it lovely, you know, she survived, and both Mr. J and I have been delighted with how well she's done. But in the last couple of weeks, she really hasn't been doing well at all. She has spent a lot of time hiding under greenery. She goes to bed first every night. She's definitely, something hasn't been right, and she's obviously having trouble preening herself because she's very wet and muddy all the time underneath herself. So after a long discussion, Mr. J and I decided that actually Beaky's time had come, and that it would be cruel to leave her wet and soggy all the time throughout the winter, and that actually, you know, ducks are supposed to be waterproof, but because her beak curled, her top beak curled up, it meant her tongue was very dry, so that the end of her tongue was leathery. But she ate and she drank okay, but what she didn't do was she wasn't able to preen herself properly. Anyway, so long story short, this morning, or even long story long, but this morning I have dispatched Beaky, and I feel awful. I shouldn't have let her live. That poor little girl was absolutely riddled with mites or lice, or one of those. I don't know which it was, but when I started plucking her, I thought, oh no, she's got loads of food sort of caught up in all her feathers around her neck, where she's been trying to scoop the food up, and it wasn't food, and it was brown. She was brown, her underside was brown, and it wasn't dirt, it was just the sheer volume of parasitic creatures living amongst her feathers. Now, all I can assume is that they must be lice, because thinking about it, mites usually bite the skin, and there were no visible signs on her skin that she had been bitten, but these things were living on her feathers and her dead skin, and what a horrible life she must have been having. And this, I want to be a cautionary tale for other people. However cute you think it is that, you know, your duck with a disformed beak is managing to survive, it's not cute, it's not fair on them, it's not lovely, and I will never, ever, ever keep a duckling with a disformed beak ever again, because it's just so wrong. No, she wouldn't have survived in the wild, because she probably wouldn't have hatched. I did have to give her a little bit of help to come out of that egg, so she would probably have died on her way out. And you know, brilliant that she's had a bit of life, but I feel so awful. I feel, you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. It really is, and it's a lesson learned. I'm just so pleased that we decided to do this now, and not in another month's time or another 2 months or something. It just, oh, poor love. She must have just been, it must have been so uncomfortable. It must have been so uncomfortable for her. So that said, that's the lesson learnt. well, I might have had the hottest shower I've ever had with the most amount of carbolic soap that I've ever used because my skin was crawling. Not literally, and they weren't literally, just, you know, that whole feeling of, ugh, yuck. And so, wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing today, I hope it's a good one for you. And I also hope you can join me again tomorrow.